We're gonna be looking at and talking about everything that you're gonna wanna watch out for when you are buying a G37 in 2024. That these cars are a very common car for young people or anyone to get their hands on and just beat the hell out of. The takeover car, that's what they are kind of known for, and there is a lot of truth to it because when you have been looking at these cars, I'm sure you see the amount of absolutely clapped out Gs that are on there. So the first thing I will very much suggest and try to, as much as you can, steer away from is anyone that's already been modified, which I know nowadays is an extremely difficult thing to do, but as much as you can avoid it, try to buy a stock one, or at least maybe no engine modifications, just some other exterior stuff. Is never a good idea because you don't know how hard they've driven it, what kind of maintenance they've kept up with, and you know, even looking at yourself, how you drive a car that you like to modify, it's not gonna be as pleasant. So trying to get a stock car is very important. It's at least been taken care of a lot more. Getting a stock car is gonna put you at an advantage right away. It is going to be hard to do. Just really try to at least steer clear from getting one that has already had engine modifications done to it.
But there are two different ways to buy this car. Number one being the coupe as you see here, and also buying a sedan version.
So honestly, between the coupe and the sedan, there's really very little of differences. Obviously, it's completely different body style and everything, but from power to amenities and electronics and inside everything, it's really basically the same exact car, just has two more doors. It's same transmissions, same engines, both come in all-wheel drive, which is another thing I'll get into. In reality, it just comes down to preference of what you want. I will say there is a lot more manuals. We got the automatic here. There's a lot more manuals though in the coupes. I believe there's only like 5% of the sedans even came in a manual, so definitely a lot harder to find there if that's what you're looking for.
But speaking of the transmission, comes to the differences in years actually.
This is actually a 2008 G37 base model. All 2008s came with a 5-speed automatic. Every year after that came with a 7-speed automatic. When you are searching, it is definitely a thing to note. I know people kind of complain about both. I don't really like the 5-speed in this, but I will say a lot of people complain about the 7-speed as well, saying that it's pretty sluggish. The 5-speed isn't the worst, but it's definitely a little more outdated. You know, this was in the G35s, 350Zs, so a little more outdated. Also, the 2008 does have like a lot of little differences, has a little bit of a different ECU. It couldn't get tuned on EcuTech for the longest time. There are some pretty decent differences in the trims for these cars that you definitely want to keep in mind. Mine being the base, I don't really have much technology of package. It's still a decent car without it, but it doesn't really have anything that the Sport and Journey have above it. After the base is the Journey, which comes with mainly just some electronic upgrades inside. You can get navigation. Later years have also cooled seats. They have the thigh extensions on the seats. Also has the backup camera. Nothing too crazy from there. The main one is going to be when you get up to the Sport.
What the Sport's going to do is definitely fill in kind of some of these poverty buttons here.
The better wheels to also bigger rotors, big brakes, which are honestly really nice when they have the Ekabono brakes. It has the VLSD, which my base does not. It has an open differential, which is an extremely annoying one. Paddle shifters, which the base does not get. Some Journeys come with the paddle shifters. The Sport guarantees the paddle shifters. They are really nice paddle shifters. They are actually from the same time as the GTR that came out. Really nice, satisfying paddle shifters, and definitely makes the Sport a lot more fun. It also does come with a little bit of different suspension for the Sport as well, which maybe doesn't matter as much if you're gonna end up changing it out, but definitely something to note.
And then just one last thing about the Sports is they do come with a different front bumper. This is actually a older Sport front bumper. I used to have a different one because of mine being the base. Nothing else really major unless you get up into the IPL actually.
But those are going to be the main trims though. There is the IPL and 20th anniversary, which does come with some different kind of bumper and configurations and also a tune. The IPL does come with more horsepower, has a better body kit, and some different interior bits. Those are a lot harder to find, but it's definitely going to be the highest one. To be honest, I don't think it's worth it because if you're going to modify it, it's just kind of a lot more things that you're going to get new anyway. So although it is a very nice car, I would say kind of steer it clear from the IPL because it's a lot more money and it's kind of just things that you could do on your own anyway. A huge thing with buying one of these is you have to note the gallery gasket issue. It's a huge problem. It can cost you $2,000 or more to get it done. If it goes, it can blow up your engine. extremely important that you know it's been done, or that you're planning on doing it, or that's maybe a way to bargain your way out of it, because once these get up to around 130,000 miles and above, it becomes an extremely big issue from years 2008 to 2013-14 area. If it has not been done, it is a major thing that you almost always need to do on these. Community with G37s can be a little, can get a bad name for sure. That's always one thing with the Gs. You know what they're known for and everything, but I'll just say, don't let that steer you clear from the car. You know, you got your vision, you do what you want to do with the car. It doesn't matter. I don't care that this thing's the takeover car. I don't make it that, so it doesn't matter to me. As I mentioned earlier, the G37s in the sedan and coupe do come with all-wheel drive, and with that comes differences, like suspension actually. So I have aftermarket suspension in there, as you can kind of see. Now, if all-wheel drive is your thing, definitely keep in mind that it is harder to get certain parts for this car, from suspension to exhaust. I know that certain exhausts don't fit as well and they have to make an entirely different one, or the company just doesn't make a exhaust that fits the all-wheel drive at all. So it's definitely one thing to keep in mind if you are getting one. It might be harder to find parts for it at times. I think those are really the only main two, but it's just something that can be an annoyance down the road, so just something to note with the all-wheel drive models. Obviously, it goes for any car if you're buying it. Just check for things, check for fluid, you know, how it's been treated. If things like low fluid, if you see the oil's pretty dark, you know, just the usual things you always want to check for, especially in these, considering, you know, kind of a lot of the times how they get driven. I just will say it a million times, please, please, please try to avoid buying a heavily modified one. It's hard to find them, I know, but if you can avoid it, try to do it. I bought this thing completely stock at 110, super healthy motor, thankfully, because of that. Ton of good things with this car. The aftermarket support, the tunability, it's just fantastic things that go with this car. If you are looking for one, I will say it's very worth it. It is an extremely fun car. It's just got so much that you can do with it, so many routes to go, turboing, keeping it naturally aspirated, even if you just want to throw on a few bolt-ons, if you just want to wrap it, make it look nice. There's a ton of different things that you could do to this car, and I will say it's worth getting one. If you are considering it, definitely try to follow through. But that's really it. Appreciate y'all watching. I've got other videos on the channel of the G, of it making the power that it did, whole bunch of other stuff if you want to check those out. But that's going to be it for this one. Appreciate y'all watching. Thank you. I love you. Bye.